Hello, friends. How are you? That's my favorite, by the way, of all time so far. My favorite, if you missed the Murphy Show, you missed a lot. Last time on kind of deal. My favorite of all time. Why am I getting asked to become a part of the text club for Super Talk 99.7 WTN? Stay ahead of the curve with the latest feature updates, industry trends. I'm not signing up for this. This is spam. What is that? I'm just trying to get into the super text line to see who's calling me a fascist or woke. Which I've been, you know what? By the way, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. My name is Matt Murphy. We've got 3 hours together. We'll hand off to the drive at 3 o'clock. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Despite sometimes me getting off on a rant, despite sometimes me yelling and screaming about this or that or the other thing, despite my passion, which is oftentimes confused with anger, and despite some of the times when I do get angry, I absolutely love our daily conversations. It's really my favorite part of the day. I mean, and with no disrespect to my wife or my family. I absolutely love talking to you on a daily basis. We are the First Amendment. I am in the First Amendment business. I am in the constitutional rights business. And I invite all of you to be a part of the show in any capacity that you choose, whether it's on the super text line, 615-737-9986. That's also the telephone number you can call directly. I'll put you on the line, and you can say just about whatever you want to say, absent certain FCC regulations about what we can allow on the airwaves and what we cannot allow on the airwaves. Same number, 615-737-9986. There are any number of ways for you to communicate with me off air and offline. You can find me on Twitter, at Matt Murphy Show, on Instagram, at Matt Murphy Show, almost anywhere, at Matt Murphy Show. I'm on Threads. I'm on Truth Social, although I'm never on Threads and rarely on Truth Social. You can also email me, which seems antiquated and old school, but you can do it that way. Matt@murphyshow.com. At any number of events, we'll be at Bold Patriot Brewing Company Friday. You can come and see me at Bold Patriot Brewing Company and express yourself in that way. I am in the First Amendment business. I'm in the free speech business. And I absolutely love the exchange. The exchange of ideas, the exchange of concepts, the exchange of ideology. And I also love that we live in a day and age where within a 12-hour span of time, I was accused of being, I do not have a P.O. Box 9058, but I do have a mailing address that I'm not giving you because I also live there. I mean, I believe in the First Amendment. I'm not stupid. I saw what happened to Brett Kavanaugh. Yes, Kathy, that's right. For those of you watching on Super Talk TV, it's a very special day. Maybe this is why I'm in such a great mood. By the way, there are many different ways to listen and watch the show. Allow me to get into the pleasantries, and then I'll continue my thought there. You can listen on 99.7 FM. It's 100,000 watts of blowtorch power all throughout Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Northern Alabama. You can also listen on any number of platforms for internet streaming, and you can find all of those at 997WTN.com. And if you have one of your own choosing, just type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN, and you can listen that way. You can also watch the show on Supertalk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and you can see why Kathy has said Dolly to me. Because that's why I'm in a good mood. I've got my Dolly shirt on. Hello to all of you watchers on Supertalk
Dolly
TV.
to her.
What?
I said Dolly to her.
What do you mean?
She asked who was on your T-shirt, and I said Dolly.
Oh, okay. Well, I got it wrong then. What's on your shirt, she said. Oh, here, I'll show you. That's my girl. That's her. Anyway. So, there you go. You can, it's episode 405, by the way, and you can watch or listen in any of those platforms, and we appreciate you doing so. Jack Johnson, the Senate Majority Leader, will be along at 12:15 to talk about the special session that is ongoing and will soon wrap up. Believe it or not, I think this thing's wrapping up by tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening. I don't think it's going into Friday. Aaron Gulbranson is with the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition. He is with us at 1 o'clock to discuss their bill, their human trafficking bill, one that was pushed by that organization, getting out of the Senate Judiciary, I think it was. I think that's right. It got out of committee, and it's one of only 3 bills being taken up by the Tennessee Senate. In other words, they are limiting the amount of legislation that they are going to pass to only those extraordinary items that they believe must be passed in this session and cannot be held off until the session in January. So for all of you conservatives that are calling me woke, and there are a bunch of them, so I get called woke and I get called fascist almost simultaneous to each other. I have liberals calling me a fascist because I defended the rules of the House of Representatives in the general session. And I have some conservative purists calling me woke because I correctly noted that this special session was not going to go anywhere near a red flag law, and anyone saying that it was, they're not, one, taking the victory, and two, they're not accepting the reality that nowhere is a red flag. A red flag law is going nowhere in this regular session. Nowhere. Or rather in the special session. Nowhere. And that was confirmed yesterday, and I would expect that all of you pure conservative organizations that are out there listening to me right now that are calling me woke, I would expect that you would offer a victory lap at this stage. I'm kind of pitching to the left a little bit. That's right. I'm woke. It's hard for them to know when you play me on me, it's hard for them to know if it's me talking. Anyway. The bottom line is this. There was one bill in the House of the Senate has only taken up 3 bills. They killed everything else in committee. They're taking up 3 bills, and none of them have anything to do with red flag laws, as predicted by me. And what I said to some of these purity organizations that were declaring that the governor, just to give you a little bit of the backstory, there were organizations and are organizations that exist that had declared that the governor, Jack Johnson, Cameron Sexton, and other quote-unquote conservative leadership in the Tennessee General Assembly had conspired to get a red flag law passed, and they were pushing this conspiracy theory onto their viewers or their listeners or their supporters in a way that I thought was dishonest. And so I called them out on it. And in doing so, I said, take the victory, folks. There's a victory to be seized. The governor floated red flag laws in April, and the governor heard loud and clear from the state of Tennessee. And the state of Tennessee said, no, sir. Yours truly included. I'm against red flag laws and always have been and always will be because they don't work. And you're misidentifying the problem when you identify the problem as the gun itself as opposed to the individual that uses it. I have never been in favor of red flag laws like some of you purity organizations have lied about and never will be. My point was simple. Take the victory. Now, it's up to the governor himself whether or not he calls a special session, which, in hindsight, looks needless. Doesn't look like it's going to accomplish anything that could not have been accomplished in January. That said, not my call, governor's call. Not your call, governor's call. That said, I don't think that it is in the spirit of truthfulness that we scare the hell out of people into believing that something that's not going to happen is going to happen. And in the process, raise money as a result. That's just a little bit of the backstory as to where we came from to help you understand where we are. And where we are is this. The Democrats aren't going to, nor were they ever going to get gun control measures passed in this special session. And so they are left with howling like children about the rules. You ever see one of these shows? Remember that show with the British nanny? I think it was called The Nanny, where the nanny comes in and these parents either pretend or are actually having these major disruptions with their children. They can't manage their children. And invariably, the nanny has to post up some house rules, just some basic rules of the house. You know, no running with scissors, no screaming at the nanny, no screaming at the parents or whatever it might be. And the kids just go insane. Ah, the rules. You can't have these rules. We don't want the rules.
South Park did a parody of that.
Did they?
Yeah, it was really good.
Well, the nanny was pretty good. if you want to see how some people shouldn't be parents. That's what the Democrats are doing in this special session.
There's one scene where the nanny tells Cartman's mother, you have to get down on his level. And when she gets down to talk to him face to face, he spits in her mouth. And Cartman's mother goes, yeah, it's best not to get down on his level.
I just want to make sure you've got all of the South Park stuff out.
I'm sorry. It's just, the visual is just amazing. Maybe Justin Jones wants to spit in Cameron Sexton's mouth.
Wait to see. I was waiting. And just, you dug the hole. I'm going to let you get out of it before I move on.
I'm staying here.
Would Justin Jones be yeah, kind of. Respect my authority. So the political left, they're just left howling about the rules. And now the ACLU has gotten involved. The American Civil Liberties Union, they have seen fit to sue the House of Representatives because they removed 3 women from Tuesday's session. That would be yesterday, because they broke the rules. Let me explain the First Amendment to my liberal listeners out there and try to help them understand this. The First Amendment says that Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Historically, the courts have ruled that the First Amendment does not preclude representative bodies from making rules of decorum that prevent disruption within the body, which is all the House of Representatives has done. They simply changed some of the rules from the regular session to this session to prevent some of the disruptions that happened last session. Now, the Democrats apparently want those disruptions. They want those disruptions because they have nothing else but disruption. I agree with you, 3996. Where was the ACLU when parents were trying to speak at school board meetings and were not allowed to speak at school board meetings? Where was the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, when I was being told that I had to wear a mask into government installations when I wanted to choose not to wear a mask? Where was the ACLU? I mean, the ACLU has completely lost its way in terms of equitable treatment of our civil liberties. They are a partisan organization, sadly. And according to their press release, they filed a lawsuit against Speaker of the House Cameron Sexton, House Clerk Tammy Letzler, Sergeant of Arms Bobby Trotter, and Tennessee Highway Patrol Colonel Matt Perry. The lawsuit is on behalf of Allison Polidor, Erica Bowden, and Mariam I can't pronounce her last name. My apologies there, Mariam. Happy to pronounce your last name correctly. You're just going to have to help me. They were removed from the Tennessee State House chamber yesterday for displaying signs before the subcommittee. The ACLU views their removal as a violation of their rights to free speech as citizens wishing to engage peacefully in the democratic process. Here's the deal, and whether you like it or not, this is a fact, that as a member of the gallery, you are there to observe the proceedings. You are not there to participate in the proceedings. And the holding of signs, why would you hold a sign? But to send a message. And in sending a message, you are therefore participating in the proceeding for the purpose of disrupting it. Now, we can argue whether or not they should allow signs if you want, but they don't. And they don't for good reason, to prevent disruption. And let's back up to the beginning when I say you're not there to participate. You're not there to make a statement. You're not there to show out. If you want to show out, go to the Rotunda. If you want to show out, go in front of the state capitol. If you want to show out, find the Fox 17 cameras or the News Channel 5 cameras or the WKRN cameras. I am sure they'll be happy to film you showing out. But in order to have an orderly process and a, dare I say it, democracy, you have to have decorum and you have to have rules. I would love to ask a J.R. Clemens or Justin Jones or Justin Pearson or Powell, whatever his name is, Jason Powell, or any of the other Democrats in the minority down there, what do you want? Do you want a General Assembly with no rules? Is that what you want? Do you want the gallery to be able to disrupt in any way they want? Do you want the gallery to be able to hold signs promoting the KKK? I mean, be careful what you wish for. You wouldn't want that, would you? I certainly wouldn't. Would you? So, I'm simultaneously woke and I'm a fascist. I'm your friendly woke fascist on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll talk to Majority Leader Jack Johnson coming up in a moment. It's 12:19 on Super Talk. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is the one and only men's clinic that I will recommend for all of your needs, gentlemen, especially when it comes to energy loss in middle age. Let's talk about that. Because while the Tennessee Men's Clinic focuses often on bedroom activities, it's more than just the bedroom. It's your energy level more broadly and more generally. If you're not making gains at the gym, or you don't want to go to the gym, or you're not doing yard work anymore because you're tired, and if you're sick and tired of being tired and tired, why not head off to the Tennessee Men's Clinic, schedule an appointment today. It is low impact. For less than $100, they're going to put you in a room. They're going to examine you comprehensively, get a little blood work from you, and see where your body's at on in a number of different ways, to include T levels. And then they'll see if there's a way to get you back energetic again in a natural, holistic fashion. Ask them about all of these things when you contact the Tennessee Men's Clinic. They can get you back to life. They can get your energy back. Most men wait far too long. Don't be one of those guys. Let's call the Tennessee Men's Clinic today. 615-208-9090, 208-9090 for the Tennessee Men's Clinic, or online, TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. I'm working my dead level best to become the employee of the year for Mark at the Safe House. You know, Nashville Safe House? Right now, that honor goes to Joe Biden. You know, Mark says that a lot, and he does it tongue in cheek. Why? Well, actually, Joe Biden has been pretty good for his business because people are a little concerned about the levels of crime that are going on in our cities. a little concern about the nature of the economy. And with that concern comes a willingness and a desire to make sure that you protect those things that protect you and your family. And that's where gun safes come in. That's where corporate safes come in. That's where jewelry safes come in. Not just to protect your guns, but also other valuables in case of fire. It's not just about theft. It's not just about destruction of property. It's also about fire itself. And at the Nashville Safe House, you can find anything of your choosing. If you've got a safe in mind, in your head, they've got it at Nashville Safe House. They have a better selection than anyone around. They've got more Browning safes than anyone else in the world in stock. They've got other brands like Fort Knox, of course. They've got plenty of safes to choose from, and they've got a style just right for you and a price point just right for you. I encourage you to go by Nashville Safe House today. They're on 4th Avenue South across from City Cemetery, or join them online, NashvilleSafeHouse.com. Tell Mark I said hello, Nashville Safe House. Jack Johnson joins us on the Matt Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. He is Senate Majority Leader as we observe the proceedings of the special session of the General Assembly as called by Governor Bill Lee. Jack joins us to tell us where we are in the midst of this session. Hey, Jack, how are you?
Hey, Matt, I'm doing great. Thank you so much. And my apologies. I'm literally in committee at the moment. We're in a brief recess here, and I may be summoned back in to cast a vote, but I'm happy to chat with you in the meantime.
All right. You just let us know what you have to do, and we'll immediately do it. I appreciate your time, and I'm so happy you were still able to join us. So we hear that the Senate has limited the special session, at least on its side of the proceedings, to essentially 3 bills. Am I hearing that correctly?
That is correct, Matt. The governor is the one who called this special session. The governor actually introduced or asked to be introduced 6 different bills. We've been reviewing those in recent weeks and meeting with stakeholders on those pieces of legislation. We settled on 3 of them, 3 good bills, and those have been passed out of committee, and I anticipate passing them on the floor of the Senate this afternoon. But at this juncture, that's what the Senate is prepared to take up.
And just explain why that is. I think I understand it, Jack, but for the edification of the listening audience, why are you limiting to just to those 3 bills the debate in the what is described as the extraordinary special session?
Well, the way special sessions work, they're supposed to be for a limited scope for, literally, we use that word, extraordinary session. That's the proper term for it. And most special sessions are called by the governor, although there is a mechanism where the legislature can call itself into special session. But in this instance, the governor called us in and had a package of bills he wished for us to consider. What we don't want to have happen is for a special session to turn into a regular session, where you have literally, in the case of this special session, over 100 bills filed, Matt, over 100. Some of those didn't fit the call, but there were probably close to 60 bills that got referred to committee. We can't go through and vet and thoroughly consider 60 different bills in a matter of 3 days or 4 days. And so now the House is going through a lot of bills. I believe at this juncture the House has passed 37 bills out of subcommittee, and they're considering those in full committee right now. But on the Senate side, we chose to focus more exclusively on what the governor asked us to consider. These other bills, by the way, doesn't mean they're bad bills, doesn't mean they won't be considered at a future date. We will reconvene in January, and any one of those bills can be reintroduced at that time.
What 3 subjects are you taking up in the Senate? What are the 3 pieces of legislation?
So one, and it's what we're on right now in the Senate Finance Committee. We had a drafting issue we're getting resolved with staff right now. But on safe storage, we know that the vast majority of crimes that are committed in Tennessee are committed with stolen guns. They're not committed by guns that are lawfully purchased at a gun store. They're with stolen guns, and we have an issue with guns being stolen out of cars and homes and so forth. And so the governor asked us to pass legislation that would create a campaign to encourage safe storage, to educate people about how to safely store guns, and also make safety devices. Yeah, I just heard an ad that you were doing relative to gun safes and trigger locks and things that responsible gun owners should use. We're not going to create any penalties or any type of civil liability or anything, but we want people to be encouraged to safely store their weapons. If you carry a gun in your car and you get home for the night, take it inside. Don't leave it in your car where it might be stolen. And we're also, which you and I have talked about, and I was very happy to tell you were right, we are reinstating the sales tax exemption on gun safes and safety devices as well. So that's one bill. We're also asking the TBI, our mutual friend Aaron Goldbergson with the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition has been instrumental in this, in asking TBI to produce a report relative to human and child sex trafficking by December 1st so that we can bring a robust package of legislation to combat that scourge in our society. And then the third and final bill is a bill that would codify an executive order that the governor issued back in April relative to making sure that our background check system is up to date. If you commit a felony in Shelby County and 2 days later, if you're not incarcerated, you try to purchase a weapon in Blount County in Far East Tennessee, it should show up in the background check system because you're ineligible to purchase a weapon. And that information should be in the system within 72 hours. So we're going to codify that executive order. Those are the three bills that we have advanced in the Senate thus far.
Well, and it seems to me like you are utilizing the specific language of the Constitution of the state of Tennessee with regard to special sessions and the extraordinary nature of the legislation that should be passed during the special sessions, and you're honoring the call of the governor, which I appreciate. I did not hear in your explanation, Jack, any red flag laws. Huh. That's
No, imagine that. Yeah, I know a lot of people have been trying to stoke fear in the hearts of Second Amendment advocates in recent weeks that we were somehow going to try to sneak one through or something. We've been very clear. There is no red flag law, no extreme risk protection order being contemplated. A couple were filed by Democrats. They have been disposed of, and none of those are going to advance out of committee. So we're focusing on good, responsible policy that will, number one, be constitutional. Well, number two, will not infringe upon people's constitutional rights, and will be effective and actually reduce crime.
So how does this work? Obviously, the House is doing their own thing, the Senate doing its own thing. How does all of this come to a conclusion? Does the House send over bills, or how does all that work, Jack?
Sure. And that's exactly what will happen. All the bills that are being considered by the House have been filed in the Senate. And ultimately, in order to adjourn this special session, what we call sine die, that's Latin for without day. That when we adjourn a special session sine die, that means it is over, done. We go home. It takes both bodies to pass. Both bodies have to pass a resolution in order to adjourn sine die. And so at some point, there will have to be a conversation with the House, and we will have that, and it will be productive. And they may ask us to consider some additional legislation. I'm not prepared to say if we will be willing to do that or not, but we have to have concurrence from the House in order to get out of here. And we want to do that responsibly and in a timely manner. So there will be a time, we go through this every year during regular session, that we have two chambers for a reason. And sometimes they have different ideas and different viewpoints, but we will come together, the members of the House and the Senate, and we will sit down and figure out what we need to do so that both bodies can be happy, or maybe they won't be quite so happy, but we will do what we have to do so that we can adjourn. But neither chamber, the bottom line is neither chamber can go home without the permission of the other chamber. So we will have to sit down with the House and rectify what we're going to do.
Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson with us. He's kind enough to step out of a committee hearing that's on a break right now to speak with us live as the special session is ongoing. Help me understand, are the Senate rules different than the House rules in terms of gallery and what the expectations are within the gallery? Because I know the ACLU has sued the House. They had a no sign policy. Are the Senate rules, do you set up your own rules of decorum in the Senate?
We do. We have our own Senate rules that are adopted at the beginning of each legislative session. We did not modify our rules. As you know, the House did. On Monday when they first convened, yesterday, I guess it was, they are, what is today? Wednesday? The days are running together on me. But on Monday when they convened, they had a lot of debate about amending their rules. We did not. We adopted the same rules that we always do. They are very similar. We do have rules. You can't have disruptions in the chamber. You can't have clapping and yelling and booing. You can have signs, but they have to be held basically chest high so you're not blocking the view of people behind you. We certainly celebrate people coming to watch their legislature in action and people getting to express their First Amendment rights. We do ask them to do it civilly, though, and I'm very proud to say thus far in the special session, we've had no issues.
Do you have any thoughts on the decision on the part of the House to prevent signs? I mean, for me, it's a rule. I think we can debate whether or not it's a necessary rule, but it's one the House felt was necessary. I know you're not in the business of getting into their business, but are there any thoughts on that, Jack? Have you seen any disruption as a result of signs in the Senate side of things? Let me ask it that way.
We have not. The chairman, typically in a committee meeting, will kind of go through the rules when we have a full gallery, and we've had several. And I found that the people that are here to watch their legislature in action have been very respectful and civil, and there have been no disruptions. I do support the right of the House and the members of the House to adopt the rules that they deem appropriate, and I would never be critical of those. We may or may not do the same thing in the Senate, but I'm not a member of the House. I'm a member of the Senate.
Well, I appreciate you breaking it down for us in a very succinct way. 3 measures: safe storage, human trafficking, and codifying the timeliness of the transference of information regarding background checks and mental health issues. Those are the 3 issues being taken up by the Senate. And we'll check in with you from time to time over the next several days, Jack. Do you expect that we're done by the end of the week?
I do. That's the hope. And even though we're in a different place than the House is, I think we all agree that we need to get this wrapped up by the end of the week, and I'm confident that we'll be able to do so.
There he is, Senator Jack Johnson. Thank you for stepping out of the committee meeting. I appreciate you, Jack.
Thanks, Matt. Have a great day.
Take care. Wanted to extend that, and I know we're running a little bit late and over time, and I apologize for that, but I did not want to ask Jack to have to hold, considering that there's a committee meeting going on. It's 12:35, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Man, oh man, you just heard the guy. I mean, was it Buster Poindexter? Hot, hot, hot. Oh boy, it's hot, hot, hot outside. You need it cool, cool, cool inside of your home. And if it's not as cool, cool, cool as it should be, I encourage you to call Efficient Heating and Cooling and Jeff Eddy. Jeff Eddy's been serving people for years in the Nashville community, and he wants to be of service to you. He will let you know what's going on with your unit if it's not cooling as efficiently as it should. Now, there are many older units that are suffering as a result of this heat. They cannot keep up. And if yours is one, what about a maintenance call from Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling? That could help repair the situation. Maybe there's an issue that can be repaired, and maybe it's time for a new unit. If it is, they're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric, an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. I encourage you to call them. They will never charge you overtime. They know that your AC doesn't know what time it is, and so you should not be penalized because it goes out at 7 o'clock at night. So no overtime rates, just low invoices and efficient service. That's what Efficient Heating and Cooling is all about. Don't get sweaty. Call Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. EfficientHVAC.net. EfficientHVAC.net or 615-784-4424, 784-4424 for Efficient. All right, folks. It's Matt Murphy here for PhD Weight Loss. I have lost now 28 pounds through PhD, and I'm proud to tell you how easy it is. It is a structured program that works for me, and I believe it can work for you. You know, at PhD Weight Loss, it's just, it's smarter. That's as simple as I can put it. It's in the name there, PhD Weight Loss. Dr. Ashley Lucas developed a plan that is not only dietitian-approved nutrition success system, but it is also individually tailored for you. How do they accomplish that? Well, through consultation. So your consultant, your nutritionist will sit down with you and they'll go over your lifestyle, what you've been eating, how much exercise you get in your life, and all of those sorts of factors, which go into a nutrition plan that is developed specific to your needs. And that is why it works so well. I've lost 28 pounds. That's the best testimony that I can give you, and I'm well on my way to my weight loss goals. So if you do not weigh or what you want to weigh within 5 pounds by the end of your program, here's the guarantee. PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. You can't ask for more than that. That's the PhD guarantee. Men lose between 3 and 5 pounds on average, women 2 to 3 pounds. Go to myphdweightloss.com. That's myphdweightloss.com for more info today. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, your thoughts on our conversation with Jack Johnson. I'm opening up the phone lines right now. Plus, any thoughts on the debate tonight versus Tucker and Trump? I'll tell you what I'm planning on doing. By the way, 615-737-9986. And a few questions regarding our conversation with Jack Johnson coming in on the Super Text line. We'd love to hear from you. 615-737-9986. So my plan for tonight is to watch the debate because the debate is live. And then I will go back and watch Tucker and Trump because that's a pre-record. I expect that in real time, Tucker Trump will get far more ratings than the debate. Although if anyone asked me my advice on how to do it, I would tell you differently. We know that Trump will be widely discussed in the debate, and it really is about Trump. Which of the candidates on the stage are prepared to defend Donald Trump's record as president of the United States? Which candidates are prepared to defend him with regard to some of these scurrilous attacks and prosecutions against him, and which are not? Now, we know some of the also-rans are going to attack Trump. The big un, Chris Christie. Hey, big un. He'll attack Trump as much he can. These are also rans that really have no business being on the debate stage to begin with. I'm curious to see the interaction between Ron DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm also curious about the interaction between Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy. Once again, none of this would suggest that any of these candidates standing on the stage tonight have any chance of beating Trump. Absent some major bombshell issue that I can't even begin to create a hypothetical for, Donald Trump is going to be your nominee. Like it or not, Republicans, Donald Trump's going to be your nominee, absent something almost inconceivable. I mean, indictments aren't going to stop him. They haven't stopped him already.
They've only helped him.
They've only assisted him. They've aided him. Because most of us look at this as political prosecution and persecution. So what I'll do, not that you're asking, although I think actually one person did ask, I will watch the debate live. The only thing that will come of an initial debate by the Republicans, you might have a few gotcha moments. I said to someone earlier today, they asked me what I expected out of Ron DeSantis versus Vivek Ramaswamy. And I said, if I'm Ron DeSantis, and I'm not saying that I believe in the same things that he believes in or whatever, I'm just telling you what I would do if I'm on stage, is I would look at Vivek Ramaswamy and ask him, why are you here? You are, every policy position that you take is a mirrored reflection of Donald Trump. Why would I, if I'm a voter, why would I select you and not Donald Trump? Why do you exist on this stage? Conversely, if I'm Vivek Ramaswamy, I would go after Ron DeSantis on some of the activities ongoing in Florida. I mean, so there's interest there, even without Trump on the stage. And even without Trump on the stage, Trump will be the central focus of conversation. And I will be able to, I'll also be able to look at the Trump-Tucker conversation anytime I want, because once it's released, it'll be readily available for all to watch. So that's my game plan for tonight. I think probably most, if I had to bet, I would think that most, I don't know. What do you think, Bell? You think most people, for those watching either or, more people are watching the Trump-Tucker deal, probably? Or do you think the interest of a live performance with 8 individuals on stage will get the better of them?
No, I think the Trump thing definitely gets more attention just because it's Trump and it's long form. But I do think that if you're on the fence about Trump, you're not sure, do I want to switch? I voted last time, but then you're going to watch the debate to see if there's anything there that grabs your attention. And like we've discussed before, I fully think that Vivek is running to be vice president, and I think he's going to do his best to show Trump in that debate that he is loyal and is his guy.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I hesitate to say it, but I mean, I think it's right that Vivek Ramaswamy understand. I mean, he's laying the groundwork, and I don't begrudge someone laying the groundwork for a future run for president of the United States. If you were just calling us, Bell was trying to answer 615-737-9986. My apologies. I hate to ask for telephone calls and then not answer the phone. John says, Matt, I will be at church tonight and teaching class. I will not give one thought to the irrelevant Republican presidential debate. I will catch highlights of Tucker's interview with Trump later, though. That's John in Lawrenceburg. Michael says, I'm watching the Little League World Series. I will probably watch the Little League World Series as well. I'll probably watch that on my laptop computer as I'm viewing some of the debate. My interest gets the better of me, and I'm a political junkie. I'm a political animal, so I'm going to be all in on that. John writes in and says, is Johnson going to be allowed in the debate tonight? I don't know who you mean. Who's Johnson? Am I missing something? They did acquiesce. Fox News originally, and I thought this was the right call. I don't know why they backed off on it. And look, I don't watch a lot of Fox News, so I don't get the heartburn that many of you do about Fox News, but that's just me. I watch occasionally. I'll turn on Bill Hemmer and or Dana Perino in the mornings, just because it's at a time where I'm working in the office anyway, and I need something in the background, and that's a decent source of breaking news. Outside of that, the only thing I watch on Fox News is Gutfeld. I used to watch Tucker on a regular basis. Tucker was my only appointment watching for Fox News, and then obviously they went and fired him. But I do watch Gutfeld as I'm getting ready for bed. But other than that, I don't really watch Fox News, and it doesn't give me the heartburn that it gives some. That said, I thought it was the right call. Donald Trump declined your offer to get on the debate stage and be the man on stage. And so originally Fox News said they weren't going to allow Trump sycophants, Trump supporters in the listening audience, to include Donald Trump Jr. And his, what's her name? Kimberly Guilfoyle, amongst others. They backed off of that position, but I thought it was the right call. I mean, if I invite you to my party and you decline to come to my party and I say, no, really, seriously, I really want you to come to my birthday party. It's really important to me. A lot of people want you there. And you go, nope, I'm not coming. No, thanks. Oh, do you have something else going on? I mean, I really would like for you to be there. I'm not going. I'm not coming. But I'll send Aunt Nene in my place. Well, no. I mean, if you're not coming, then Aunt Nene's not invited either.
Yeah, that's the thing that kills me. It's like, it's non-transferable. Come on.
8870 wants to know if Tucker Trump is televised. I think Tucker Trump will be on Twitter or X, formerly known as Twitter. I do not believe that it will be televised anywhere. And then John says Perry Johnson. Is Johnson going to be allowed in the debate tonight? John, I follow these sorts of things for a living, and I barely know who Perry Johnson is and did not recognize him as a presidential candidate. There are some also-rans that are not going to be allowed on the debate stage. Larry Elder, I mean, the parameters by which you had to meet, in order to be on stage are clearly defined by Fox and the RNC. So I don't know what to tell you except no. Newsmax was reporting that the MC wasn't going to permit him to participate. Once again, Perry Johnson is a nobody. No offense, but I don't know who. I'm not trying to upset you, John, but really, you could have eliminated, for my taste, 2 or 3 of the other candidates as well. But he says he met all the requirements. Okay, well, that's fine. That's up to him and the RNC to figure out. Once again, 615-737-9986. Jerry is next in Greenbrier. Hey, Jerry, glad you called. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me on. I just, on Vivek, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, he sounds just like Trump. And, of course, Trump has a proven record. But I just don't understand the Soros funding. And he wasn't a student when he got it. You know, it wasn't like it was help. And his cutting Israel off at some predetermined date. And also pardoning the Bidens. I mean, please. This doesn't make sense. I don't understand it. Your comment.
On the funding, right? So just for those who don't know the story, it was Paul Soros, the brother of George Soros. Do you have a brother, Jerry?
No, I don't.
You don't? Do you have a sister?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Would you want me to judge you based on every action that your sister engages in?
Well, I got a couple of them, and tell you what, one of them, I wouldn't want you to know her.
Right. So I'm not defending any of this. I don't know the backstory for any of it, but I'm saying that Vivek Ramaswamy was a guy that was trying to go to law school, and he got a fellowship from Paul Soros, which is the brother of George Soros. Paul Soros is dead now. I have no idea what Paul Soros's politics are. Right. I think any suggestion that was the beginning of a Manchurian candidate opportunity for Vivek Ramaswamy, I don't see it. I don't see it. I understand why people get concerned about it, but I just don't see it. Right. The funding for Israel is a little more concerning to me, because Israel's existence in some way is dependent upon the support of the United States of America. But I don't necessarily know that means some material support. Of all of the countries that I would like to cut international funding from, Israel would probably be at the bottom of that list.
Okay, that's good.
And what was the third? What was the third one?
Biden, pardoning the Biden.
Yeah, and I'd have to go listen to the comment. I know the comment you're talking about, where he said that he wouldn't be against, or he would be open to the concepts of offering pardons to the Biden family. I would have to listen to the specifics of all of that, but I don't know. Republicans have a history of pardoning fellow Republicans. I don't think they have any history of pardoning Democrats. Jerry, I got to run, according to Bell K, who's going to have an aneurysm if I don't say we've got to take a break. Hey, folks, Matt Murphy for Defend Systems. Brink Fiddler wants to make your place of business, your church, your school, a safer place to work, a safer place to go to school, a safer place to worship, a safer place to even live. If you have a place where individuals gather and you're a decision maker in that business operation, then I encourage you to call Defend Systems today. They're a life safety and security consultation operation based right here in Middle Tennessee. You've heard Brink many times on my show talk about their various clients like schools, corporations, healthcare facilities, law firms, manufacturing facilities. Once again, anywhere people gather. As a matter of fact, Cumulus Nashville utilized the training program for their personnel, which is how I got to know Brink, which is why I get to talk about Brink on a regular basis. What he does is so invaluable. You know, the odds of you experiencing workplace violence or, God forbid, a mass shooting are minuscule in the grand scheme of things, but they're not non-existent. Hope is not a plan. It is time to get trained in this dangerous world with Brink Fiddler and Defense Systems. Go to defensesystems.com or 615-236-6484, 236-6484 for Defense Systems. United Structural Systems engages in foundation repair, waterproofing, and concrete leveling, and it is who they are and what they do. And in all three phases of what they do, they understand that you probably don't want to face the fact that you need them. I like to say you don't want to call them. I understand that you don't want to call them because that's the realization that there might be something substantially wrong with your home. But the peace of mind that they offer you is the opportunity to completely examine your foundation setting or the waterproofing situation in your home. When they come to your house, they're problem solvers to get to the bottom of the issue, and they do offer that peace of mind for you, the homeowner. And know this, if you don't call them, it's just going to get worse, and that could cause major issues that could be of major expense when, if you call them on the front end, it could be a minor expense to you and your family and your home. So USS, they are the trusted experts. Since 1994, they've helped over 25,000 residential customers just like you, and they can help you. Call the best. Call USS, 615-488-7855, 488-7855, or USSTN.com, USSTN.com. You know, I might do this in the second half of the show. I might offer you an opportunity to engage in what you're going to watch besides the debate or the Trump-Tucker interview. A lot of you are already offering alternatives. For example, Don says he's going to watch Green Acres. Well, Green Acres is the place to be. Farm living. It's the life for me. Land stretching out so far and wide, forget Manhattan. Just give me that countryside. Hey,
I've
it's
watched
Matt Murphy.
some of those reruns.
Don't
recently.
interrupt the introduction. You're just killing me today. You're killing me today. You're killing me today. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Did I interrupt you?
No, I interrupted you. Sorry.
It's hard not to. I'm in a mood. I'm sorry, Belle. I apologize. I'm in a mood. I don't know why. When you wake up and you're called a woke fascist, it gets you in a mood.
Who's about to be 50.
And I'm about to be 50 in a week. That's true. Anyway, I apologize for interrupting Belle, who was interrupting me. I don't want to interrupt you in the middle of your interruption. Far be it for me to do that. You want me to keep up with Green Acres? I can go. I can do the next verse.
No, I was just going to say I've watched some reruns of that show lately.
Uh-huh.
Does not hold up.
No?
No. Not. And why is it that
Mr. Drucker?
Why is it that
Mr. Douglas! I can do.
Why is it the Andy Taylor or Andy Griffith show holds up phenomenally and Green Acres is garbage?
Petticoat Junction holds up. There's three reasons that it holds up.
Okay.
Or six.
Of course.
Depending on how you're counting. All right, more on Green Acres. New York is where I'd rather stay. I'd get allergic smelling hay. No? We'll do that in just a moment. The special session is ongoing in the Tennessee General Assembly as we speak. And as I mentioned to you over these last several weeks in discussing it, I do not believe, never did I believe, that the fix was in on red flag laws. And we saw the conclusion of that argument yesterday in a Senate subcommittee, the House Civil Justice Committee. In a House subcommittee. It's the House Civil Justice Committee. The one red flag bill proposal that was allowed through was killed. So any order of protection or red flag bill is dead for the special session, as predicted by yours truly and others who have been observing the movement of the individual legislators themselves and the movement of the governor's office. The governor floated it in April. Take the victory. The people of Tennessee spoke very loudly and clearly that they do not want red flag laws, and I promise you the governor heard that. Hence, no bill from the governor's office, only a part of the call. Now, all of that to say there is some good that can come from the special session, and we are seeing it in action. And to that end, we have the two Aarons, Aaron Spradlin and Aaron Goldbranson, on the program with the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition to talk about some of the good that came out of this yesterday. Hello, Aarons.
How's it going?
Good day, sir.
How are you?
Can I just point out that the three little men with microphones had been right about the red flag laws to begin with. We had said the entire time that it wasn't going to happen and that the General Assembly was going to keep their word. And they did.
I understand the watchdog approach. I get it.
Yeah.
So I don't begrudge organizations saying, hey, we're keeping an eye on this. I would like to believe that we're in that number and you're in that number.
Yeah.
Hey, we're watching, and if anything goes on, we're going to alert you immediately and we'll give a call to action. What I didn't like were some of the conspiracy theorists that suggested the fix was all in and that the Jack Johnsons of the world were lying to you. I might disagree with Jack Johnson on certain policy positions, but I believe the man is an honest actor in the Senate, and I think he's proven as such during the special session.
Well, and it's very fair. I always tell people, when somebody gives you their word, use the Reagan rule of trust but verify, and then I add an addendum to that, but verify it for yourself. Don't read an outrageous tweet or a headline on the internet or something that asks you for money at the end of it, because that's usually why they're saying crazy things. Call the legislator's office up and go, hey, what's your vote going to be on a red flag law? And everybody that actually did call and say that, they got their answer. And as we've seen, now, Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition, we've announced we were against all red flag laws from the beginning. We helped win on this issue. I will say I would love for the prestige of my organization to sit here and tell you and your audience that we killed all the red flag position of the governor. We expressed our position to legislators. The legislators took care of it for themselves.
Well,
They're the heroes here.
Well, I would go back to the people, right?
Yeah.
So the governor floated the idea in April. The legislature heard the idea. They went back home. They talked to the people that matter, and the people that matter told them. And as much as certain Democrats would have you believe that 84% of the state is in favor of gun control measures, it is quite the opposite. And the people spoke loudly and clearly to their representatives, and the representatives spoke loudly and clearly to the governor's office, and we are where we are.
Yeah, and look, I mean, also the other big one, which I will take a large amount of credit for, and you deserve part of the credit, and Tennessee Star in terms of alerting the public and the legislators and the governor to the very real security threats that existed. Well, look what happened. The governor's office and everybody who's responsible for Capitol security surely listened to that. The place was secured very nicely. You saw it. I saw it. He saw it. It was very, very safe. And I do, this is one of those things because we all sitting here publicize the daylights out of the problems, and there was recordings that of secret meetings that that got out, and we took the opportunity, and we were able to relay those concerns directly to governor to his face, and they clearly took it seriously. So they do deserve kudos on that.
What was fascinating to me is we were there Monday, and I got a chance to see you guys on Monday watching from the gallery as they debated the rules, is the amount of representatives in the well of the House of Representatives who were complaining about the state trooper presence in the halls of the Tennessee Capitol, there to protect them and to protect the very democracy that they claimed was being destroyed by the Republican Party.
And chief among those was Justin Pearson from Memphis, right? And do you know what Justin Pearson had with him the entire time walking around the Cordell Hall building?
State trooper. No?
Private security.
Oh, he had private security.
That I bet you, this is just a theory, so we'll prove this when the finance reports come out. I bet you that $800,000 he raised, some of that is going to pay for that private security. And fine, do what you want, but don't be a hypocrite about it, right? Oh, there's too many troopers here, but I'm going to have my guy walk into a committee room with me and look painfully obvious that he was private security.
Do you feel like some of the conspiracy theorists will just ignore the good that's going to happen from this session? Because I think the human trafficking piece that was promoted and pushed by the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition is one of the strong positives that has come out of this. We were talking to Jack Johnson a minute ago, Aaron, and he said, "Look, we're going to get to the bottom of this issue in the state of Tennessee in a way where we can actually do something about it next session. If we had waited." Then you get the study committee together. I mean, we know how government loves study committees. You don't take any action until the following session in 2025. By utilizing this special session for the purpose of public safety, which was the call, we're getting ahead of this. We're getting that study committee together, and we're going to begin to see some action regarding human trafficking in the state of Tennessee.
Yeah, which is great because, like you're saying, they're putting the bullets in the gun. I hate to use that because I'm going to get bashed for it for saying they're putting the bullets in the gun, but they are. With having the report, you take the decade-long time frame that we've had since the last report. When you go from 76 counties in 2013 to 95 out of 95, obviously, if there are internal reports, that doesn't do us any good, right? So when you can put that compiled report together for the legislators to realize what they need to come to the table with in different laws or legislation that they are putting forward, it's based off the data that they're collecting.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't know, I mean, we went up that many counties in a decade. And
explain explain the 95 out of 95 for those that maybe haven't listened to our conversations in the past.
So in 2013, when the last report was put out by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, 76 counties out of 95 counties reported trafficking in their county under the age of 13. TBI did
child trafficking.
Now, there are multiple kinds of trafficking. There's labor trafficking, there's human trafficking, there's adult trafficking, there's men, but child trafficking under the age of 13, boy or girl, okay?
That's going to be primarily for the purposes of sex or labor.
Sex or labor, correct.
Yeah,
anything that you're forced to do against your will.
That's right.
Coercion or whatever. So in that decade, we've increased to 95 out of 95 counties. And that was TBI that put that out, but they didn't put it out with a big report. They just said that that's where we stand. We need to understand why the increase from 76 to 95 out of 95. And that's one of the biggest parts of what this bill is going to do. We see the report. It's done in December. Come into the next session, you got the bullets in the gun to go fight it. And that's why it's so
because
important.
Rightly so. I mean, if I'm a representative, I mean, I would have to be ignorant to this, to your organization or to this situation, not to understand it. But I could claim, well, I don't have a report in front of me. Now you're going to have a report in front of you. There's no excuse not to take action to start to try to prevent this, at least in the state of Tennessee, and to be an example to the rest of the United States of America about how to tackle this issue head on.
Absolutely. And, I think just because we were obviously open against the special session, but we made lemonade out of lemons. We found something in there that we could actually bring and make it good.
Well, and that's what I call being open. I mean, right? I know we talked about it. Yeah. Initially, you guys, the organization expressed concern to the governor because of the safety and security concerns that were real with regard to the special session. You had that conversation. We've all had that conversation. I had a different take on it. And frankly, I thought some good could come of this, specifically because of your efforts with regard to public safety and the public safety danger that is presented by the concept of human trafficking in the state of Tennessee. It's an issue that most people want to ignore or pretend doesn't exist, and I understand why. Because it is horrific to consider that 12-year-old little girls are being trafficked for sale as slaves in the United States of America. But the fact that it does exist, and if we are to ignore it as a state, then in some ways we become complicit in it.
Yeah. And there's one thing that it came up in committee yesterday when Aaron was testifying. We didn't start this fight because of a movie that came out to make the world aware. This has been on our burner since 2016, well before the movie. This isn't just a hot button topic that we're using to try to grow or do whatever. This is the fight that we've been fighting, and we're going to continue to fight. I'm going to fight till they put me in the ground. But it has not happened because of a movie. And I think that is something that needs to be understood. We're not on here talking to you because of a movie. Well,
it's quite the other. I think it's quite the other way around. Right. I mean, the presence of your organization and organizations like yours around the United States of America and around the world, the existence of those organizations were what created the movie, not the movie created the organization.
There is, and mind you, there's a number of good organizations in the state that have existed for a while that do good work on this. A lot of them do it at the local level. A lot of them, lobby city council and that sort of thing. I think we've achieved a fair amount of success because of the combination of the both of us with his work on the field, physically saving people, working on the issue, being recognized by the General Assembly, my political experience and understanding how legislators think and how issues matter to people. I mean, when you're and this is one of those situations that happens to be a very good policy point, but also a very good motivating point. When you correctly point out that children and women less than a mile from where we're currently sitting are being victimized by child and human trafficking. If somebody hadn't heard that before, the look of shock gets on their face, and then they go, oh my gosh, we needed to do something about this. And that's what happens with the legislators. And we were really privileged yesterday to have almost everybody from leadership in both houses joining us, standing together as we literally, according to Majority Leader Jack Johnson and Congressman Ogles joined us too, saying if you are in the business of child trafficking in the state of Tennessee, and I want to pause. How often does this happen on a singular issue? If it's not a bunch of people trying to jump on a campaign and wave from the stage on election night, right? 30 some odd legislators and a congressman.
Let's dive further into the press conference from yesterday, which is primarily the reason you're here, and we'll talk about the specifics of the legislation that we'll get through the special, which will set up some good pieces in January, and we'll talk about those as well. It's 1:19 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Quick timeout. Be back in a moment. The Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, and the premise of the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project is quite simple. The Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project wants to protect those that have protected us. They want to help those that have helped us. Charlie Daniels, during his lifetime, said there's only two things between us and tyranny, and that is God Almighty himself and the United States military. And the mission of the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, truly in honor of Charlie himself, is to help veterans and heroes reintegrate from service to civilian life, and they do so well. They have learned the organizations that do the work the right way. They want to minimize overhead costs to make sure that almost every bit of your dollar goes specifically to the veterans that you give to attempt to help. Obviously, there's a certain level of overhead. Websites cost money to create, but the Charlie Daniels Project does the research, and they minimize that level of overhead to make sure the maximum amount of your money is going directly to veterans. Please donate today. Do so by going to the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project.org. That's the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project.org. Find out more about the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project and tell them Matt Murphy sent you. Give today. $123, a few more good moments with the two Aarons, Aaron Spradlin, Aaron Goldbranson of the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition. They had a big press conference yesterday at the Tennessee Capitol in promotion of the passage of an anti-human trafficking piece of legislation that would gather more information. Well, I don't want to speak to it because I've got the two men who crafted it, or at least assisted in crafting it. Tell me just your your takeaway, Aaron, from the press conference yesterday.
I've been in politics on a paid basis for 23 years. I've been in politics for 25 years in general. It was probably the most touching moment I've seen to see that many members of leadership. And then you kind of look to your left and look to your right. And these are not a mix of people, including a congressman, Leader Johnson, Leader Lamberth, and of course, Andy Ogles. I mean, Jody Barrett was there. Bo Watson was there. We use their colloquial name, Scott Zapicki. We both love Scott Zapicki. So many of them were there. Brockmore. I'm gonna stop saying names because I'll leave them out because there were so many. But the fact that we were unequivocal. This wasn't a mealy-mouthed, we're going to do something. Hey, guys, got to do something. This was literally the words that came out of Leader Jack Johnson's mouth when it came to the human trafficking problem in the state, is if you are in the business of child and human trafficking, we are at war with you. We are coming for you. Standing around the entire not the entire, but 30 members of the General Assembly, declaring that in unity. And people want to talk about unity in politics. This was a moment of unity. This was conservative legislators getting together and saying, children are being victimized, women are being victimized, no more. And that was a wonderful moment.
Aaron, considering the level of work that you've done on the ground regarding this subject, do you have to remind yourself to be patient so that people can catch up to what you already know that works?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, you've got to catch an entire legislature up on the realities of human trafficking first before you can help the organizations that matter create systems that can stop it in the state. I mean, you know those types of systems that can work. You know those types of stings and other operations that actually work to break up these human trafficking chains. But you have to be patient at the same time to make sure that you catch everybody up so that they are aware of what's really going on.
Unfortunately, you have to eat the elephant one bite at a time. And it's a big elephant, you know, but this is a step in the right direction. And I believe with the information that we'll have coming in off of this report, that I don't have to see it. I don't care if I ever see it. The public should see it. But this isn't about what I get to see. This is about what the people that make the laws of Tennessee get to see and what law enforcement get to see and how they prepare and how they put their plan together and their operational orders and how they go forward. This is to raise more money for the law enforcement community, more training so they understand it. It is here. We know it's here. We've increased a little bit in our presence as far as, I say, as a state Bureau of Investigation special agents in this fight from 4 to 10, but it's 95 counties. And you have to train your local law enforcement, your local PD, because this is in your counties. I think it should be taught at the lowest. The constables in the counties should be taught this in a course of what to look for and how to deal with it. And if we can get, the ball rolling in the right direction, we are going to push it out of here. And when we're successful with that, we're going to move to the next states to do it.
And, that it helps prepare us to get boots on the ground to do that level of training and to engage in those operations. But it also helps politically, Aaron. Aaron, number two. And that is that it is even more difficult with reports coming out from the TBI for Democrats to deny that any of this is going on. One of the more disturbing / disgusting aspects of this conversation, the amount of liberals that are willing to look you in the face and say, well, you're making the most of this up, or you're making all of it. You hear it all the time, Bradley. I mean, you both hear it all the time. And anything that makes it more difficult, if not impossible, for our friends on the left-hand side of the aisle to deny that this is going on.
Yeah, and we were, of course, sort of joking a little bit off air about getting called names this week, which everybody has. But, since we stand for the Constitution and work on a number of other issues, we've been called, this week, fascist conspiracy theorists because we're conservatives who are fighting human trafficking. We've been called rhinos by a couple groups because we're trying to get something done and taking the opportunity to do something positive during special session. We've actually had a couple groups actively come out and say, don't pass the human trafficking thing because nothing should happen during special session. Actually said it. And so it's been very interesting. But yeah, the Marxist left doesn't care. They don't want to talk about it. Sadly, there's a couple people that are more interested in scoring political points on the so-called right than caring about it too. But it's a very important issue. We're going to win. 2 o'clock today is the Senate floor vote. It's going to pass the Senate. 2 o'clock today as well as the full criminal justice committee vote. Then I anticipate a vote on probably the next day on the House floor. So I think we're going to win this fight. This is the start. And just to repeat for people who kind of pay attention or miss, the reason that we do this for special session and why we took the opportunity is we get a report in December, and then the bluntest way to put it is then we argue about and debate about and negotiate about what we're doing next to save the kids.
All right, I want to read you this, and I've not read the entirety of the message, but it's directed to both you, Aaron, and you, Aaron, the two Aarons. It's from 8335, who writes in, I'd love to hear you ask your guests about their feelings toward police setup stings where they pretend to be children and lure perverts in to be arrested. Of course, that's a good thing to get these people off the street, but then the police departments go online and start beating their chest about how they're combating human trafficking. When they did absolutely nothing to catch or arrest people who actually traffic these children? Does it confuse the greater topic at hand? I think it's just local police departments catching the low-hanging fruit and not doing much about the true human traffickers just so they can say they're combating human trafficking. It's a lot to unpack in that, but Aaron Spradlin, you start.
Well, I'll go with this. If they're luring them in a sting, that means they're looking, okay? They've already found their online, or they've found their phone number, or they found whatever is going to bring them their thing. And they've done their best to set up the sting. In comes the bad guy. They stop the bad guy. My response to that would be if them doing that stops one child from being raped that day, they've already done their job, because a child in America is raped every 2 minutes. They're not pounding their chest. You have to put out a bust. If it goes out, you put it out. There are a lot of busts that go on that aren't reported. You may have to dig for them, but when you take down 14 during a sting in Brentwood, Tennessee, you let people know.
Well, and I get the sentiment. I think the sentiment's heartfelt that, and I'll use, because it's less emotional, I'll use drugs, right?
Okay.
So, police departments that go out and find the users that are on the street and get the users off the street. Well, you're alerting the dealers, the bigger head honchos, that the police presence is there, and maybe they go further into hiding. And I understand there's a danger when you catch these individuals that are users of the sex trafficking trade, that you're not going to find the people that are providing the human beings. You know more than anybody. There's a danger in that, and there's a healthy balance in trying to get to the bad guys on the top end and also snare the bad guys on the bottom end.
Yeah. Right. And when you find out the way the system's working, of course, our law enforcement that do these things, whether it be at the highest level of even, and I hate to bring them into it, let's just call it Department of Justice somewhere, and then our local or state law enforcement officers, they're learning how it's working, so that they can backtrack through the system to find the head of the snake. You can't kill that thing all at once. You have to do it, like we said, one bite at a time. And if they have a successful thing where they've stopped 14 different people, or 42 in East Tennessee in May of 2016, they're showing that they're doing something, but they're also learning from it.
Well, do you think in the couple of minutes that we have left, because I'm a little over time, do either of you think that you'll have people voting against this legislation in the special?
We haven't had it yet. There's, of course, I've mentioned there's been a push by some people to vote no. Maybe we'll call them out at some point in time, but we know who they are. But no, nobody's voted no yet. I mean, you got one senator that's voting that it's abstaining on everything, and we have no problem with him whatsoever. So we passed unanimously out of criminal justice subcommittee. I expect it to be unanimous. We'll see what happens on the floor, though. I will tell you, if somebody's going to vote no on this, I got a bet it's going to be Justin Jones and Justin Pearson. Gloria Johnson's already voted yes on this, so I can't call her out on this as much as I'd love to. Well, this is a nonpartisan no-brainer. Yeah, it is. My goodness gracious. It should be above the politics of the day that seems to rule the day.
from down there. Congratulations, men, on the press conference yesterday and on pushing this legislation. And we'll continue to keep updated as to what's going on in the special session. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, sir.
They're the two Aarons with the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition. Back in a moment, 1:33 on Super Talk. Do you suffer from knee pain? Is it painful to walk or perform your day-to-day activities? If so, the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief wants you. It's Matt Murphy. We're looking for 5 people who suffer from knee pain who want to experience significant relief in the next 30 days without pills and without surgery. Call the Dr. Gill Center today and find out what living with knee pain is costing you. Don't miss this opportunity. 615-882-4838. 615-882-4838. It's the Dr. Gill Center. CallMePainFree.com. That's CallMePainFree.com. Call the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief today. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy Show in progress. Just push it up. Come on. There you go. There you go. It's your stuff. One of the, I'm not going to say which Aaron left his stuff, but one of the Aarons left his stuff, and so we were collecting that. As we come back from break, we welcome you back to the show, 138 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, so congratulations to all of you that spoke out to your individual representatives and made sure that red flag laws, which you hate, we hate, will not be a part of the special session. Yesterday in subcommittee, the House Civil Justice Committee considered a red flag bill that had been presented by a Democrat, and it was killed in the House subcommittee. So that indicates that there will be no further red flag laws in this special session. There will be a couple of things that come out of, you heard Jack Johnson earlier today regarding the Senate. I think this will be a good opportunity for us to get Cameron Smith's take on all of this. We can finish up on the state legislative side of things this hour, and then next hour maybe argue about the debates. I don't know if we'll argue or not. I don't know what we'll do because I don't know what his take is on it. But Cameron joins us. He's early. Well, you think he'll argue with me?
You guys always. You guys can be in 100% agreement and argue.
You know we love it.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's good. That's fair. And maybe I can cast some of my ire toward you, so I'll stop heaping it on Bell. I've been unduly unfair to Bell today.
What did he do?
I don't know. I don't know. Some days, you know what I'm saying? Some days you look at your wife and you still love her, but you think, you know what, I'm going to go over here today. You know what I'm saying?
I made the mistake.
Speak for yourself, my friend.
I made the mistake of telling him I had some oil fire whiskey last night, and he was like, "You didn't drink the tequila I got you for your birthday?" And it's all been downhill from there.
And get him a fine. I mean, oil. Don't get me wrong. That oil fire whiskey
that
is
was good.
Tip top. I got a bottle of that if you want it. Nope, not gonna have it. No, I mean a full bottle.
Is it aged
Delicious.
in real oil
If I
drums?
had it, it wouldn't be a full
So
bottle.
good. It's so good. It's like it's an alternative to some of the. I mean, it's a kind of a flavored whiskey like we see out, and pour a little bit of it for the lady in your life, and she's gonna like it, and you're gonna like it too for different reasons. I compared it to, remember the old secret ads?
Yeah.
The deodorant ad, strong enough for a man but made for a woman.
Yeah, pH balance for a woman.
I told the guy, one of the owners of the distribution of Oil Fire at our event last week, I said, you should use the old secret line. It's strong enough for a man but made for a woman. It makes sense to me. Cameron, what do you think about the special session so far? It's
well,
been fun?
I saw your fascist tweets and things that you were doing
I am a
with
fascist.
your emojis and whatnot. I mean, here's the thing that I get it. I think I'm going to upset everybody, which is pretty typical of me. I think the Republicans had a little bit of a glass jaw in the enforcement of some of their rules. Like if there's a mama with a sign sitting in her lap being quiet, like I don't get it. And I saw some of that from the way they were enforcing the rules. You want to avoid the disruptions. And there were plenty of Democrats that were like, hey, I like some disruption.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but you've got kind of a mixed bag there of the disruptors and sort of the covenant moms. And it's a bad look, with what those moms and families have been through. And I get that. But like the idea that everyone's a fascist is just kind of dumb, too.
Well, it is. But I don't even have a problem with allowing the smaller signage.
Yeah.
As long as you're not blocking others
Yes.
and you remain quiet. However, it was demonstrated in the latter portion of the regular session that the gallery on this particular subject could not manage
Right.
to handle themselves and comport themselves in a way that would enforce decorum. And so Sexton made the decision to allow no signs. What fascinates me are people that are suggesting that this is in somehow violation of their First Amendment rights, which setting rules of. So you have the gallery is there, and this is just where I'm at on it. The gallery is there for you to participate in the process by observing, not to actively make statements,
Right.
not to make demonstrations. And in my view, holding a sign, you're not doing that for yourself.
Right.
You're doing that for someone else. So in as much as you're doing it for someone else, you are becoming a part of the process in a way that you're not supposed to be. That's
Yeah, and I think this idea of everybody being a First Amendment or a constitutional scholar is dumb, right? Like, okay, there's time, place, and manner restrictions the Supreme Court has set are permissible. And when it comes to a legislative body, they have a tremendous amount of discretion over how they operate. And the reason is you want that separation, right? You don't want Tennessee courts coming in and saying, you must do this, because it's how they conduct their proceedings in the legislature.
it's what your representative on the floor is literally for.
Yeah.
is to represent you in making statements or making points. You don't get to do that from the gallery, which is the point of not allowing signs. Plus, by the way, the same groups of individuals harmed you in your right to hold your little signs up because of some of the nature of the signs that were held up. It was I've got photographs of it. It's some of the more disgusting things that you can imagine being said about individual members of the Tennessee General Assembly, which probably led some to suggest that we need to have no more signs.
And I'm in the more speech camp pretty much all the time. And in this kind of context, the issue for me is, are you disrupting the proceeding or are you blocking other people from observing the proceeding? As long as you're not doing those two, if you want to have a sign in your lap or what, I don't care. Now, if those signs are threats or something, like that's a different animal. But generally on this stuff, I just say let people act foolish and put up dumb things and go about your business. As long as they don't disrupt your proceeding of business, let them look foolish. But when you do this stuff, come on, you're immediate. You know exactly what's going to happen. They're going to take the sympathetic mama that's crying, who's like, I'm a Republican, and I just wanted to hear and to engage, and they threw me out, and that's what they're going to do. And then they're going to use that to bludgeon Republicans. That's what's going to happen.
But they're going to do that anyway.
Maybe. But, I mean.
But and I want to say this as sensitively as I possibly can.
This should be good.
That an association with the Covenant School in no way changes that your and my rights are equitable when it comes to what we can and cannot do in that gallery.
Sure, that's fair.
So I don't, when I hear, well, it's a Covenant mom, that doesn't change my analysis of the equation whatsoever. And that I try to be soft-hearted to the painful emotions that the people at the Covenant School have gone through. But you're not going to bludgeon me with that so that you get your way against the rules that everyone else has to abide by.
But it looks to me like, for example, the mama with the little sign sitting there quietly with it in her lap, that to me feels like an unforced error to be like, I'm sorry, ma'am, you have to leave. I mean, if she's yelling up and screaming or doing something like, fine, kick her out. I don't care.
And I saw on Monday, I was there in the gallery, and I saw across from us, one side, the west side of the gallery was reserved for media and others, and the other side of the gallery was for the general public. And there were a lot of 8x11 signs. I mean, a bunch of people had signs that they were holding up. And I think I think they were still adopting some of these rules, so they gave them grace on it. But understand that there are segments of the gallery when you're there that are constantly pushing the envelope as to what they're not allowed to do, to include this stupid finger snapping that drove me insane. And nobody ever said a word about it, and rightly so, because it's one of those pick your battles kind of things. So they don't applaud when they applaud, or they yell out, yeah, whatever. When, some of them did so when Democrats would speak, they would get admonished, they would get warned. At one point, Cameron Sexton said, listen, another warning, I'm going to remove those of you causing disruptions. But boy, they...
Oh, yeah.
The finger snapping.
My sense, and I said this, on Twitter, is the remedy here, if you don't like the rules that Republicans applied and how they enforce them, then you should vote those Republicans out of office. Yeah. And the folks that are sitting there saying 70% of Tennesseans want these gun restrictions, I'm like, okay, cool. Then you should have the votes to change the legislature. Just do it. Like, why are you arguing with me?
Yeah. I mean, and I also heard the figure from J.R. Clemens, Democrat, and others, that 84% of the state of Tennessee want gun control laws. Well, if that's the case, it should be really easy for you to get a law passed on gun control in the body.
Well, and that's where the conversation from the individual online that was very much coming after you and me and saying, oh, you're gaslighting everyone. I'm like, who's gaslighting who when it comes to, you're saying 70, 80% of the public supports these significant material firearm restrictions. Okay, then this should be a done issue. This should be locked up for you, and you should be able to throw out all the Republicans you want. You and I both know that's not true.
Can I make a comment?
Oh, sure.
If it's 84% of people saying we need to have restrictions on free speech, that doesn't make it any more valid. It's an inherent right. You don't get a vote on my rights.
Yeah, but I mean, even here, we're talking about the rules of decorum and some of that squishier stuff. And, even on the red flag law, if folks want it, they can get folks there. They can pass it, and then a court can strike it down.
Well, and I'll take the extreme left and the extreme right on the special session, right? The extreme right on the special session was suggesting that there was a conspiracy in place that against the wisdom of the people of the state of Tennessee, that Jack Johnson and Cameron Sexton, along with William Lamberth and others in leadership, I guess McNally's in on it too, they have quietly inside, they've comported with the governor, and they were going to cram through a red flag law. This was their conspiracy theory that I've been fighting against for weeks. Hold on.
Aren't all those guys Masons?
And in promoting that conspiracy theory, they're also raising money. And I fought back on that nonsense because the people spoke. I don't understand why they just don't take the victory unless it's all about money.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that.
And on the political left simultaneous is telling us that these enormous numbers want to do something about gun control. I promise you, the same people that spoke loudly to their individual representatives after the governor in April said that he was going to have a special session on red flag laws, those same people would have told their representatives that they wanted gun control. But they didn't. They didn't because they don't exist.
Well, a survey of 1,000 people in Davidson County says, and you see what I'm saying here. If you want me to, I can dictate any issue any way with any poll, given the survey sample size and where it is. And that to me is, we say all these things, we throw it out, but it's a sample group, and it's pretty clear that the legislators don't actually think they're in any jeopardy from being very deferential to the Second Amendment. And that's okay. I mean, this is how we sort this stuff out. I'm decidedly not upset about these proceedings generally. That this is how we work it out, folks. Like, you don't have to like it, and if you don't, toss them out of office. And if you can't, it's because majorities say, we like these guys. That's how it works.
150 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In a few moments, Cameron and I will go back and forth on what we hope to see accomplished tonight in the debate setting, or what will you be watching? I'm going to open it up in the 2 o'clock hour. Alternative viewing that doesn't have anything to do with Trump or Tucker or the debate. I think more people will be watching. I think the Nolansville game might be preferable to either of these two viewing opportunities. We'll find out where Cameron is in just a moment. It's 150 on Super Talk. Super Talk 99.7 WTN 158. You can either stay right here and continue to discuss with Cameron Smith and myself what's going on in the state of Tennessee, and eventually we'll get to what's going on in the United States of America and around the globe, especially when it concerns the debate that's happening tonight. Or you can go over to the Super Text line and talk old sitcoms with Belkay, who is engaged in a deep dive conversation with several of you about Hogan's Heroes. And I see you, and I'm like, I'm watching him.
Trying to make our listeners feel welcome.
You want me to give my
No.
I got a pretty strong Hogan's Heroes impersonation. You ready?
No.
You don't want it?
I don't want it.
I do. What's a Hogan hero?
You have got to be kidding me.
Cheese! I know nothing. That's it. That's all I got.
Not do Major Hochstetter.
Richard Dawson, man. That's where Richard Dawson, see, most people don't know this. Richard Dawson came up with the idea for Family Feud while he was in a concentration camp in Germany.
True story.
True story. Just, if you don't believe me, watch Hogan's Heroes and you'll see it. There it is. 2 down, 1 to go. Cameron Smith is considering going himself. I don't blame him. In a moment, I will invite a super liberal to the show. Her name is Molly, and she thinks that I'm a fascist. That's upcoming on The Murphy Show. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Two o'clock, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories right now. 99 degrees in Nashville. That heat advisory in effect till Friday at 8 p.m. Heat index values up to 107 today. Complete forecast just a few minutes away. A business jet en route from Moscow to St. Petersburg has crashed, killing all 10 people on board. Mercenary chief Yevgeny Prigozhin was on the passenger list. The Wagner Group played a key role in Russia's invasion of Ukraine before briefly launching an insurrection against the Russian military in June, and forces loyal to Prigozhin marched towards Moscow before turning back after several days. Karen Travers has the reaction from the Biden administration.
The White House says President Biden has been briefed on the plane crash in Russia. Russia's Federal Air Transport Agency says Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of the private paramilitary organization, the Wagner Group, was on the passenger list of the plane that crashed. 10 people were killed, but it's not yet clear whether he was actually on board the plane. President Biden's National Security Council spokesperson Adrian Watson says in a statement, quote, "If confirmed, no one should be surprised." Watson adding, "The disastrous war in Ukraine led to a private army marching on Moscow, and now it would seem to this."
Right now in Tennessee, Franklin police have now given the all clear after a bomb threat at a Twice Daily on Carruthers Parkway this morning. The Tennessee Highway Patrol's bomb squad determined that there was no threat and surrounding streets were closed for some time. All are now back open. And a new five-year contract for the men and women in brown who deliver many of the packages to your front door. Sherry Preston.
Negotiations between UPS and its union workers broke down in July. Members of the Teamsters saying that without a deal, millions of package deliveries to homes and businesses could have been disrupted. Last month, however, just days before the contract was set to expire, both sides reached a tentative 5-year extension. This week, that deal was approved by 86% of the membership.
And some news about the special session on public safety. News 2 says that a judge has temporarily blocked the no sign rule inside of the House chamber in committee meetings. The ACLU filed a lawsuit claiming the rule violates free speech rights and comes after the removal of 3 protesters from a House committee meeting yesterday for violating the rule. The rule is a part of a rules package adopted by the House specifically for the special session that includes a provision that states you can't take voice or nose amplification devices, flags, signs, or banners in the galleries of the House of Representatives. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
We all have mobile phones. We all have mobile phone numbers. We all have our devices that we utilize and depend on, and in some cases are addicted to. So to suggest that you wouldn't need a mobile company in your life is ridiculous to you, and I agree with that. I understand it because I feel the same way. But what if I told you that you could have the same quality service that you currently enjoy without all of the woke nonsense in politics and minimizing the amount of your money that's going to the said same, the woke politics and the nonsense that we hear from these big corporations nowadays? Patriot Mobile, let me introduce you to them. They're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. You get the same network coverage that you get from the big three without all the woke politics. And when you switch, it is easy, easy, easy. And this is what I hear. Oh, Murphy, I would use activation code Murphy. I would do all of these things, but it's going to be a hassle. I'm going to have to get a new phone number. No, you do not. No new phone number. You keep your phone number. You keep your phone, and switching is a breeze. It is as easy as can be. They are 100% U.S.-based in their customer service team. That means you talk to somebody right here in the good old United States of America when you ask for free activation through the offer code Murphy. Call 878-PATRIOT. That's 878-PATRIOT. Activation code Murphy, or go to patriotmobile.com/Murphy. That's patriotmobile.com/Murphy. Eliminate the woke and get the same quality service through Patriot Mobile. Here we go. It's hour number 3 of the Matt Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Depending on your point of view, I'm either as woke as they come or a real fascist here in the state of Tennessee. Those came within 6 hours of one another, and it lets me know.
Pitching to the left a little bit.
Lets me know I'm doing something right, Bill K. By the way, when's the last time you actually saw an episode of Petticoat Junction?
Oh, God, that's been forever. I mean, honestly, I would say at least 20 years ago.
Right up there with Dolly Parton and 9 to 5 / Best Little Whorehouse in Texas for me, in a formulation of my personal picadillos.
Yeah, that was
what? Why are you giving me the look? Hey, Cameron Smith is here, everybody. Hey, Cameron.
That's one of those shows where you wish you could have been the costumer.
Oh man, I wish I could have been a bucket of water in that.
Wish I could have been a bucket of water.
I mean, remember they're grabbing the. I mean, I would have settled for being old Uncle Joe. Was it Uncle Joe? Is that right? You know, he's moving. Yeah, it's Uncle Joe. He's moving kind of slow at the junction. Petticoat Junction. If you were not listening in the first couple of hours of the show, you have no idea what we're talking about right now, but that's okay. We'll catch you up. We'll feed you baby birds. Cameron Smith's with us, as he normally is on these Wednesdays. It's 7 minutes after 2 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, our episode 405. Your calls and Super Text 615-737-9986. I'm particularly curious if we can fill phone lines up with individuals that have a point of view on what they expect out of either the debate or the interview with Trump Tucker tonight. Cameron Smith, no need to lie to me. Will you be watching the debate tonight?
Yes.
Why?
I am hoping to see something useful. I wrote a column about this, that this was uncharacteristic for me. Even Ray, one of my great detractors, I looked at the field and I said, look, you've got Donald Trump, knockoffs, and turncoats. That's what we've got right now. And until I see a candidate put forth a vision, a game plan, and have enough of a voice to be an alternative to Trump, it's just Trump and people that are sort of referencing back to Trump. So I don't actually think Republican voters have that much choice right now.
Even DeSantis doesn't have a lot of policy disagreements with Donald Trump.
No, and look, the Republican field is not going to have a lot of huge policy disagreements.
Nor should they.
But what we're looking for is leadership and style. And for this field, if they go out tonight and they say, you know who's pretty great? Donald Trump.
DJT.
I mean, what's the point, man?
Well, I did say this, that if DeSantis wants to distinguish himself as the difference. I mean, you've got the those that are nipping at the heels of Trump, the Chris Christies of the world that are going nowhere.
Right.
They're there to be attack dogs. Okay, fine, whatever.
Fair.
But if DeSantis, and I don't know that this works, even if he does take my advice, but if I'm DeSantis, I look at Vivek Ramaswamy and say, why are you here?
Yeah.
I mean, and by the way, I like Vivek Ramaswamy. I think the man, if he chooses to continue in politics, might have a future in politics. I think he's saying a lot of good things. But why are you running now if all you do is act as an amplifier to the concepts of Donald Trump?
Right.
And to who the man is, we've got him to pick from right now.
Right.
Right? So why would I pick you when I can pick him?
And that to me is, okay, well, maybe because Vivek puts up videos of himself exercising. Like, I don't know, but that's my point. It's
younger, more vibrant.
I am
it was a slap in Trump's face.
I'm not quite a billionaire, but I'm a many 100 millionaire. So I'm getting there, but I'm younger.
You know, if Chris Christie put up one of those videos, I'd commit to voting for him in the primary.
That would be excellent. Well, but my point...
that's a joke, everybody. But if you've seen the Vivek, he's playing a little
But this
tennis.
was my point. Like, okay, Chris Christie, remember when he was a Trump lapdog? Remember that?
Yep.
So the punches that he's delivering, he's telling the truth now, but it kind of rings hollow when you're a turncoat. Same with Mike Pence. Like, Mike's like, I basically am pro Donald Trump. He is a liar. He is not worthy of the Constitution. Where were you, dude? Like, nothing changed. So those are like turncoat crew. Nikki Haley kind of maybe, like, it's kind of, we don't know where she is.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got the knockoffs.
I don't think Nikki knows whether
Right.
she's running against Trump or for the VP. I don't know that she knows.
But then you've got the knockoffs, which is like DeSantis. Even though I don't want to, I kind of maybe I put Ramaswamy in there. Tim Scott is just like, dude, show me something. You're a conservative that people like with optimism, like all these good things, but I have no reason to go join your band of misfits right now because I don't know that you've got any juice. And so give me something to go with. Give me something to believe that you could be the nominee. And then with DeSantis and Ramaswamy, I'm like, okay, like you're younger. You don't have all these indictments. So that's goodish.
You know what we're listening to right now, ladies and gentlemen? We're listening to a sort of kind of almost, you're not see, I almost made the joke, and it's hard to do when you're looking right at me, but
I know.
We're looking and listening to kind of a never-Trumper guy come to the realization that he might just have to vote for Donald Trump again.
It's terrible. I freaking hate it. And I think this is where I see it's true. Because I look at Joe Biden and I'm like, guys, this is ridiculous. How could Democrats even put up such a candidate? Like, oh my goodness. And then they try to say, well, the economy's doing better in certain Bidenomics. They can't even say the word. And Biden is barely there. And we all know it. And so, no, that's off the table for me.
Did you see the clip? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you got me off. Did you see the clip? Worse than any other clip. I just saw it last night of what he did in Maui.
Yeah.
Worse than the lie about the house fire where his wife was saved, yada, yada, yada. We know that that's an ultra exaggeration that he uses all the time, and it's just such an insult to people that have lost family members. Worse than the staged press conference in front of the rubble. The thing with the water. The thing with the water, if you've not seen the thing with the water, go find it. It is the scariest piece of 8 or 9 second video that I've seen of Joe Biden. Because it's one thing that Joe Biden cannot deliver a speech in front of a podium without reading it. And you watch the speech that he delivered in Maui, and all he's doing is looking down because he doesn't have a teleprompter set up. So he has to look down. And so he reads and reads and reads and reads and reads. It's another thing that he can't deliver that speech without having a little table beside him with water on the table. That's also a little pathetic, but whatever. When he gets done with the speech and the cameras are still rolling, one of his aides says to him, or it might have been, I don't know who it was, but someone gestured and said, would you like take a little sip of water? And Joe Biden does not acknowledge that the man spoke to him and just wanders away. Like the guy said, would you like a sip of water? He doesn't say no thanks. He doesn't acknowledge it. He wanders away like someone with dementia would wander away at a nursing home.
And I hate to, I'm not a conspiracy guy, but it's facially evident that he's declining materially.
Rapidly.
In front of our faces. And every Democrat, I challenge them to tell me that's not true. If you want to say, no, I actually support Gavin Newsom, or I have another person, but to tell me that Joe Biden, that you sincerely believe that this guy should be president again, is insane.
But once again, what we are watching in real time, and I know everyone, it has to be now, and I've promoted and I will continue to promote, do not pick your candidate until 2024, although most of you have ignored me on this and Cameron on this. Don't pick your candidate, just watch it all play out, but most of you have decided. But I think it's going to take some repair to help the never Trumper groups that were very hopeful, and this is your right as an American, that were hopeful that another candidate would shine and really compete against him. That's not materializing right now.
Yeah.
And if we want to defeat Joe Biden, and I know this is your big fear,
yep.
And for everyone listening, I know Cameron Smith well, and I know y'all want to say, no, it's a fear of his. And I think it's legitimate that Trump can't overcome the hump in the general, even against a candidate that is obviously dementia-ridden.
Yes.
Like Joe Biden. But it's going to take us coming together and turning 60% of the Republicans. I had a super texter ask me earlier, well, why is everyone saying this is a done deal if Donald Trump's only at 60% of the Republican Party? Well, that's the way primaries go. The expectation is that most of those other Republicans that are voting for other candidates will come into Camp Trump. And that's my fear, is that they'll decide not to.
I don't think they will. Because here's why. Because he's a de facto incumbent, right? So a de facto incumbent, people know him. They know what's there. Like Trump's right when he says, hey, look, people have seen me, my performance. They know me now. And he's at, like, we'll call it 60%, right? To pick up the rest, those folks have to come back in the fold and say, even though I'm actively looking for an alternative, yeah, I guess you're better than Joe. And maybe you're right, but I think the excitement level is way down.
But this is what I was told. I would argue that I was told to do that. Well, now I'm thinking of the argument. I was about to argue that I was told by the establishment to do that in 2012 when Mitt Romney was the front runner for the Republican nomination. And I hated Mitt Romney then, and I hate him today. And I was told, you got to suck it up, Buttercup, for the good of the country. And I did. And it didn't work.
No.
Okay, but now all of you anti-Trumpers, you got to suck it up for the betterment of the country.
And if it doesn't
It'll work this time.
It'll work this
time.
It'll work.
Joe Biden.
Well,
Joe Biden's the dementia-addled old fool this time around.
But this is the problem for me, is like, and I get it, there's plenty of you guys listening that really believe the election was stolen, right? Stick with me for just a second. What if it wasn't? It means there's one candidate in the field that already lost to Joe Biden. Now you're going to argue with me, well, Joe Biden's declined enough that this time something will change and those swing voters will come back. I just struggle with that.
I can counter that argument.
Okay, please.
I mean, Joe Biden won during an election cycle where he did not have to actively campaign, nor was he was given a pass for not actively campaigning by the mainstream media because of COVID.
Sure, basically.
Secondarily, the various states were given a pass by their own Supreme Courts for actively changing the rules against the judgment of their own legislatures because of COVID. And unless they concoct a new COVID in order to give themselves...
You've noticed that's coming, right? Have you seen the mask things popping back up?
Morris Brown College in Georgia. All right, look. I'm not trying to be too conspiratorial, but you got, COVID's coming back. We had, I think the Tennessean popped an article that showed a mask.
I saw it was a news thing that popped up that had a mask with the Tennessee flag on it.
I saw the same thing, and I responded by going, no, I'm not going there. No, thank you. The science is settled that the mask crap didn't work. I'm not doing it again.
So what I will tell you with the debate tonight is that either somebody's got to show up and be a viable alternative to Trump, or we need to stop this game of Trump lights and these guys that just get up there to bash Trump. Like Chris Christie isn't running for president. He just wants to beat the daylights out of Trump. Like okay, but like you're not running a real campaign for president. It's just let me beat up Trump and Trump people.
Well, and I want to speak to a lot of my hardcore Trump supporters, and in a lot of ways, I'm in your camp. I voted for the guy 4 times, and I will vote for him again if he's the Republican nominee, and I'll probably vote for him in the primary. So I'll probably end up voting for him 6 times. For those of you that are frustrated that Cameron and I are having this conversation, if you truly want Trump to be the 47th president of the United States of America, you have to convince Cameron. You have to convince the likes of Cameron. Not Cameron himself.
People like
But
me.
you have to have establishment Republicans supporting our guy. If we don't, all is lost. So as much as distasteful as this conversation might be, as frustrating as it might be, why isn't everybody just in Camp Trump? Well, you've got to convince them it's the way. And just as they would try to convince you in 2028 and beyond to continue your enthusiasm even without a Trump on the ticket, one of the things that I like to say is, what if Trump didn't exist right now? I asked Chris Hand this morning, and Hand's all in. And I get it. I don't begrudge anybody their position on it.
Yeah, go for it.
But where would you be without Trump? Where would we be without Trump? Are you planning to just fade back into the woodwork?
There is no plan B.
Honestly, if there were no Trump, where would we be? Would we continue to fight for America? Would we continue to fight for the types of values that Donald Trump expressed during his campaigns and in the 4 years that he was president? Or do we just fade into the woodwork and allow the Democrats to have it at that point?
Yeah, and people like me, conservative Republicans, I just don't worship any politician. Like I'm not a fanboy of anybody. Like I'd like to be more. I actually look at the folks with Trump and how much they are enthusiastic. I'd love to have that about somebody, but I am deeply skeptical of most politicians. And
what the hell is wrong with you?
But that point is, you got to convince half the party that, hey, this is the right way to go again. And I struggle with recycling. Like anytime, Mitt Romney was a great example. The idea of, well, we should run Mitt Romney.
Because, next up.
Yeah, and then again, I'm like, no. Like, if it doesn't work, don't do it again.
Well, 5829 says Trump is the only one fighting.
What do you mean by that?
Rand Paul isn't fighting? What do you mean by that? You don't think Ron DeSantis is fighting in Florida?
He has a great track record of conservative governing.
I disagree that, I understand that there's a subset of establishment Republicans that get a lot of my ire, and I express a lot of frustration over how they do their business in Washington, D.C. I don't cotton to the Mitch McConnells of the world. However, saying that Donald Trump is the only one fighting is telling me that as soon as Donald Trump is out of the picture, that you're not going to fight either. Can you not find one? I'm not challenging you, 5829, but I guess I kind of am. Can you not find one other person in politics that's fighting? Then I would suggest you're not looking.
Yeah.
Because there are plenty of others. Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah. You've got a D.C. consultant class problem right now. That's what's happening. That's what happened to Ron DeSantis, is he hired the D.C. insiders to be like, we have heard that the flyover Americans like this kind of Republican, so you can't say these things.
Right.
And truthfully, Donald Trump is running the most establishment campaign he's ever run, and I think it's a critical error for him, just objectively, to not be himself. And you know what? He likes to brawl. He likes to go on that debate stage. The fact that he's like, nah, that is consultants and legal heads saying, no, don't do it.
I don't think he'll like not being there, and I think he'll be at the next one.
That's his best skill. We all know it. And,
And I think, and I'm a purist when it comes to the debate stage.
Show up.
I don't care. Show up. I don't care how far in the lead you are. I don't care who you are. I don't care what party you're from. Show up. It's 2:23 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So, Matt Murphy here. I have an odd request. It's an odd request because I'm going to tell you about a party that you're not invited to, and I'm going to ask you to participate in a party that you're not invited to. It comes from yours truly and Stokes Nielsen. Now, Stokes has put together 7, or this will be the 7th, law enforcement appreciation concerts since 2021. He has gone around the country, and now he's coming to Nashville to show appreciation for the active law enforcement community that keeps you, your family, me, my family, and the rest of our communities safe, that protect and serve. Due to the nature and security of some of the job descriptions that will be at this event, the event necessarily has to be closed to the public. So I can't offer you an opportunity to be there. They're produced and performed to show specifically groups of law enforcement the appreciation that they deserve. But Stokes and yours truly, we want you to participate, and Stokes has an idea, and I love it. He wants to give you the opportunity to show law enforcement officers that you support them by covering the venue with posters from a variety of different groups and organizations, whether it's a school setting or a church group or your family. Provide posters that show the support for the police officers, so much so that each officer has an opportunity to take one home. We need your help. We need a minimum of 200 posters to cover the venue, and there'll be plenty of photos and whatnot of the posters in their place. Email Stokes to find out more at signvolunteer997 at gmail.com. That's signvolunteer997 at gmail.com. Let's show our law enforcement community we believe in them through Stokes Nielsen. It's signvolunteer997 at gmail.com.
The leader of the Wagner Group believed to have been killed in a plane crash. A student in Nashville with a gun to school, and some crime over there in Southern California. An interesting case that we're following. That and more. 2:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you, Mac Morey. We'll hear from Brian Wilson coming up in about 20 minutes or so. He's got a big show called The Drive from 3 until 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Yours truly, as I mentioned, Cameron Smith of the Tennessean is with us, and a Davidson County judge. And this is fairly new. And if you mentioned this, Morey, I didn't hear you, so I'm sorry. But a Davidson County judge issued a temporary restraining order today against the Tennessee House of Representatives, blocking the new rule in the chamber for the special session barring all signs in the galleries. The order, which has been signed by Chancellor Ann Martin, comes as a part of a lawsuit filed earlier in the morning by the American Civil Liberties Union of Tennessee. The lawsuit stems from the removal of 3 activists from a House committee hearing for holding paper signs supporting gun reform. And it's my understanding this group was also being vocal, but they say that they were removed because of the signs, that the state troopers told them that they had to leave after they were told to lower their paper signs and not to clap during the House Civil Justice Subcommittee hearing. This was the subcommittee hearing that ultimately squashed the one red flag bill that was before the special session. Cameron, the next day that I attend law school will be the first day that I attend law school. You've attended law school.
I have.
What do you think about the concept that individuals can or should be allowed to hold any and all signs? Because understand, guys, and you tell me if I'm wrong, Cameron, if you say holding a sign is okay, then holding a sign is okay. So if some schmuck wanted to come in with like a Klan sign, then that's A-okay too, right?
So what's interesting here is the First Amendment jurisprudence says time, place, manner jurisdiction or restrictions may be permissible, right? So that's we don't allow signs in the gallery generally. Or we don't allow signs above a certain size. We don't allow those signs to be elevated so as to block people's view. Mm-hmm. Those type of things generally hold up. What the ACLU is going to try to do is say this is a content-based restriction. You don't like the messages on the sign, and therefore you're a government agent that's restricting and suppressing the content of speech.
Specific speech.
When we get over into content land, oh, wow. Like that's where courts will intervene and say, no, it's not. It can't be a content-based restriction. And the argument that I think the ACLU is ultimately going to make is, well, these rules are new for this special session directed at these issues. And therefore, any of the sign restrictions the new ones are content-based. And so we'll see how it shakes out. I think generally speaking, the higher courts are going to say this is a legislative body. Provided that these are time, place, and manner restrictions, they're going to be pretty deferential because they don't want to get into deciding what the legislature must and must not allow during a legislative session. That's just that there's a separation of powers there that they're generally going to want to respect.
Well, it's fascinating. Well, we can get into there's several fascinating facets to this, one of which is that the same Democrats that are now complaining about some of the new rules were the same Democrats that were complaining about a lack of rules in the regular session, especially when it comes to 3 of their members being expelled or 2 being expelled from the body, the 2 Justins, because they were like, well, what we did not merit expulsion. So they started creating new levels of expulsion, and included in that, they created new rules for the gallery, and now they're complaining about those rules. So it's they're kind of like kids that whatever rule changes there are, they're going to complain about them. 2:32, Super Talk 99.7 WTN News Time right now.
It is 2:32. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. And folks, it's 100 degrees right now in Nashville. That is not the feels like. That's the real temperature. Heat advisory in effect until Friday, 8 p.m. Full weather forecast in 2 minutes. Yevgeny Prigozhin, leader of the Wagner Group, is believed to have been killed in a plane crash in Estela Katera.
According to Russian media, Russia's Federal Air Transport Agency says Yevgeny Prigozhin is listed as being among the passengers aboard a private jet that crashed in the Tver region on Wednesday. Prigozhin created the Russian mercenary group known as the Wagner Group, and earlier this summer led his men to march on Moscow in protest of Russian military leadership. According to Russian officials, all 10 people on board were killed. An investigation into what caused the crash has been launched.
Right now in Tennessee, Channel 4 reports that a loaded handgun was taken from a student's backpack today. This is at Kenwood High School. An SRO had to break up an altercation between 3 students and then went on to search one of those students' backpacks and found a firearm along with 2 loaded magazines. Officials say no threats were made. And over in Southern California, police say a 19-year-old who was found murdered after she was kidnapped was the victim of a random crime. Alex Stone reports from L.A.
19-year-old Andrea Vasquez was with her boyfriend in a park on Sunday morning in the city of Whittier. Police say a shooter walked up and started firing at them. Andrea was kidnapped, and then this week her body found in a field. Police say she was a victim of a random crime. Her mother, Anna, saying,
"Today is the worst day of my life."
Police say 20-year-old Gabriel Esparza was arrested at his job on Monday, booked for kidnapping and murder. The motive is not clear.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WDN News.
As I've been telling you about Savory Spice, I've told you on several occasions the benefit of having Savory Spice in my life. Holly and David operate 2 locations. Their shops are in Franklin, just off the square next to Gray's Pharmacy. Beautiful location and a wonderful smell when you walk in. And then one in L&L Market. They've got one of those Savory Spice locations there right at the front of L&L on Charlotte Pike. And I've told you that in my weight loss journey, I've lost about 28 pounds. Part of the way that I'm doing that is utilizing their spices, a variety of different spices to flavor veggies, to flavor some of the meats that we have, some of the proteins that we have. Well, let me tell you another story about my wife and Cheez-Its. I'm addicted to her Cheez-Its that she made with Savory Spice seasonings. And I got to tell you, I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. She used taco seasoning. I think she used some of the ranch dressing mix, or maybe it was the Caesar mix. One way or the other, she made these Cheez-Its. She took Cheez-Its and made them exponentially better because of Savory Spice. And then I ate an entire bag of them over the weekend because I could not help myself. Thanks, Holly. Thanks, David. Thanks, Savory Spice. In all seriousness, folks, so good. Up your food game by upping your spice game. You up your spice game at Savory Spice. Made me break my diet and eat Cheez-Its. Thank you, Savory Spice. Once again, 2 locations in Franklin and on L&L Market on Charlotte Pike. You know, the choice of a gun store is an important decision as well, and I encourage you to choose the Glock store. Big and bright, 35,000 square feet. They have dedicated tactical shooting rooms, never shooting lanes, shooting rooms. I spoke with Lenny McGill last time I was out at the Glock store on air about this, and he said, you know, we came up with the concept because we recognize that if you only learn how to operate your gun in a lane, then you're not getting real-world experience that you might need to utilize, well, in the real world. And that's what they do at the world-famous Glock store. They have highly trained gunsmiths on site every day as well, meaning that when you buy a performance part like a guide rod or an extended controller or a night sight, they can install it for you for free while you wait with one of their qualified gunsmiths. As a matter of fact, when I was in the midst of training, I was off in my shooting, and my trainer, Dan Hughes, said, let me see. He tried to fire the gun. We went to a gunsmith. They corrected my sights, and I was A-okay and got on target. Thank you to those gunsmiths who were on site. Helpful employees, helpful as the day is long, and a great, great facility. You have to see it for yourself on Air Lane Drive, just off of Elm Hill Pike. Go to Glockstore.com or shoot270.com and tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the world-famous Glock store. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Rudolph Giuliani, America's mayor, has surrendered to authorities in Fulton County, Georgia, at the Fulton County Sheriff's Department. He is expected to speak at some time in the near future. If he says anything of note, we will carry that for you on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Cameron Smith, do you have any thoughts on Rudy Giuliani surrendering to the authorities?
The only thought that I have related to that case and, frankly, Trump world and these indictments is if I'm Donald Trump and I'm a billionaire, I'm paying as many of these bills as I possibly can to keep everybody on board and keep everybody consistent. We saw in that Docs case that when that individual went over to a public defender, which is his right to do, apparently the testimony all of a sudden kind of went unfavorable to Trump. And so I think you see this with Jenna Ellis and other folks. Giuliani's been talking about some of the money stuff. I don't think now is the time that Donald Trump wants to go cheap in terms of paying for the legal expenses of folks that are in with him.
You mentioned the Docs case, and for those not up on the latest development there was an underling that has been charged.
Employee number 4.
Yeah, employee number 4 or whatever that's been charged. This is the guy that the prosecution contends Donald Trump told to erase some of the servers or the security.
He is a witness to the defendants doing this.
And he originally testified in a different fashion, and now that he has a public defender, he's testifying in a different way. We don't really know exactly what he's saying, but there's been a change in testimony. Yep. And, you know, my reaction was that seems to fit the modus operandi of what they've tried to do with Trump all along, is that you can't, if you do not have physical evidence of a transgression, but you believe a transgression occurred, find a Roger Stone or a Paul Manafort or a Michael Cohen, and you had some success with Cohen, that's willing to flip on Trump.
Right.
And it's been meager success thus far. However, even if you have that, I think you have to have something material in evidence. Otherwise, it becomes a he said, he said.
In the Docs case, I think they've got enough. This is hey, and by the way, Trump wanted us to erase these videos. That count might get tossed, right?
Right.
The Docs case is, based on what they have right now, that's the toughest one. But my point is, again, if I'm Trump, I want to keep everybody in the fold kind of defending against this together, because imagine that folks start to break off and they're trying to save their own skin. This becomes a lot more difficult for him going forward. And again, if he's a billionaire, I would think that it would be in his best interest to kind of keep everybody on the Trump train.
All right, so in order of importance tonight, Republican primary debate, number 1, Trump discussion with Tucker Carlson, number 2, Nolensville Little League World Series game, number 3. How would you order those in terms of importance?
So the Trump thing, He's not going to say anything new. I already kind of know who he is. Like, he's been very clear about all this. And again, I'll give him credit. Guy is super consistent in being who he is, so I don't learn anything there.
I'm more curious, and I'm going to watch. I will not watch it as it is presented because I'll be watching the debate. It's a pre-recorded interview, so I feel comfortable that I can watch that at a later time. I am curious how much Tucker pushes Trump on his position on Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah.
Because Trump has had some different positions on it, and Tucker has become a hardliner that it is a mistake what we're doing. And I agree with Tucker on it.
Yeah.
It's my libertarian roots coming out. Because sadly, I believe that eventually the Ukraine's going to run out of soldiers, and what are we going to do then?
Right.
So I'm curious where Tucker is on that, because Trump has been supportive of America supporting Ukraine in that regard. So we'll see.
I think I'm going to watch the debate.
Nolensville-
I'm going to catch the Nolensville stuff. I have friends who are texting me about that.
I'm very excited.
In real time.
I don't know why I'm very excited, but I'm very excited.
About Nolensville?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. It's home team, man.
I mean, why wouldn't we be?
Yeah.
Rudy Giuliani is speaking before the assembled group. Can we jip some of this real quick before we do that? If we have it, I might be watching something different than you're watching. Rudy Giuliani is standing amongst a gaggle of press.
Oh, that's more than a gaggle.
That's a lot of
I do
press.
not in any way admit the truth of those allegations. Those allegations are totally false.
You did not. You still believe the election was rigged, Mr. Giuliani?
That is absolutely wrong, and you're lying, as you often do. If you read it, it says it was only for the purposes of that case, and it was not an admission.
You had the opportunity. Still believe that the election was rigged, Mr. Giuliani? Do you still believe that the election?
All right, well,
was
there
rigged?
you go. I mean, there's some reasonable questions.
That question will come. I would be shocked if it doesn't come out tonight. To just sort of force everybody to put a marker in the sand. You believe the election was stolen or not?
You think Brett Baer and Martha McCallum will go there?
I don't know, but man, you're looking for differences in the candidates. I think you're right on foreign affairs. I think that's a clear one.
Yeah, sure.
But I think you're going to have candidates, and that's a differentiator, right?
Feels like a gotcha question because it's more nuanced than just. I mean, I think some states did certain things that gave advantages to Democrats. That doesn't mean that I believe that a Dominion machine was flipped for the purposes of stealing an election.
You can ask it a different way and more nuanced, to saying, do you believe that there were sufficient votes to overturn the result of the election?
Here's why I believe it might be asked, or why it might be valid. If you're a candidate on that stage, you should have prepped for that question.
Absolutely.
And if you've not prepped for that question, I'll know.
But it could be weird, man.
It could be.
That'd be a fun one.
I mean,
What question? You get one question. What are you asking?
I don't know. I'm asking whether I'm late for a break. Which I am.
Escaped.
Thank you.
That question's answer is always yes.
That is true. That is, of the many, many failures of this radio show and my year and a half in Nashville, it is one of them. It is 2:47 on Super Talk.
Wagner Group leader believed to be dead in plane crash. A safety feature being added to Metro Public Schools. An active shooter today in Pittsburgh. And the latest on Maui after those devastating wildfires. Those stories and more coming up at 3 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Mac, you want there's some water here if you want to take a little sip. You want to take a little sip of water? That's just a reference to Joe Biden being in Maui. That sad and pathetic video.
Gosh,
where the guy said, there's a little water here. Hey, Brian Wilson's here. Brian, there's a little water here. You want a little water? Are you going to walk away?
I have a Slurpee.
Brian Wilson joining us for a few moments. And Brian, I kept Cameron Smith here because Cameron asked me a good question right before the break. And I think it might merit asking both of us this question regarding the debates tonight. Cameron, your question?
Yeah, you get one question to ask the debate field tonight. What is it?
I figured mine out during the break, Brian, but I will leave it to you first. You get one question to ask the field of candidates in the debate tonight. What comes to mind?
Wow. You know, I've been in some of these debate preparation meetings where I remember one specifically with Britt Hume and Chris Wallace years ago. And you would not believe the depth of planning that goes into getting every word just right. I mean, they work for a whole day just winnowing down to make sure that you ask the question in the right way. I haven't given that any thought because I haven't thought about that, but I don't know. I mean, it would seem to me, I mean, what are the big issues of our day? I mean, to me, it's the economy. So, I think it would be an economic question of some sort. I don't know exactly. And then maybe I'm obsessed with the border as being a crisis that we're not dealing with. And I suppose I'd go somewhere.
What color are Donald Trump's eyes?
Well, there you go. It took me a second to come up with my answer because it was a question I wasn't expecting from Cameron, but I figured it out during the break, Brian. And my answer, I think my question would be, is the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, beyond repair? Does it need to be dissolved and recreated? And if so, what would that look like? Because I do think it's a Republican lean on the question, but I also think that you would get a variety of answers from the different candidates and kind of separate them out.
And maybe just widening that out a little bit is that many Republicans feel as if there's a two-tier system. How do you fix that? It would be probably maybe a question that I would
like that one.
What are your? Are you planning on watching tonight?
I will watch the debate tonight and get some sense of where everything is. I want to watch the Trump interview with Tucker at the same time. So, I mean, the nice thing about it being on Twitter is I can go back and look at it a little bit later and catch it. I won't have missed much. Just won't be at the very latest. There's so much going on in the world. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about this plane that was shot down out of the sky in Russia, which seems to be carrying the leader of the Wagner Group, and that's a fascinating story there. I was just taken by the fact that Biden was asked about it, and rather than doing what he did when it came to Maui and not answering any questions, he said he didn't know much, but you have to understand, he says, we've been busy working out. He just come from a Pilates class.
What?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness gracious. I mean, it just continues to get worse.
Just turn in your manhood card right now, Mr. President. And that's the first thing. And the second thing is, honestly, things are going on around in the world. I mean, this is delicate when you start talking about the, foreign affairs and foreign relations and what it means. And he's off having a Pilates class.
Well, it's another day. It's another embarrassment from the President of the United States. What else is going on the drive this afternoon, Brian? What can we expect?
We're going to be talking a little bit about the special session. We'll talk about the Wagner Group. We'll catch up on what's going on with the Biden investigation. And for some reason, when you're prepping for a show, you never know what's going to land and what seems to be going on out there. There's an inordinate amount of stories coming up about the border, which is becoming a problem. And Anthony Fauci has raised his ugly head again, and many people are wondering, is he suggesting that we might have more lockdowns? Because some people are saying COVID is coming back again. I wonder what the reaction would be if they tried to do that stunt again, because I think there would be a complete, sort of outrage about any kind of effort to go back to what we did during the first pandemic.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think the reaction would be immediate and definitive.
Absolutely. I
with
think you're right.
How people would react.
We'll kick it off here in just a few minutes.
There you go. There's Brian Wilson. He's coming up in just a couple of minutes. Stay right here after the news with Mac Moore. You've got The Drive with Brian Wilson. We'll be back at high noon tomorrow for a Thursday edition of the Matt Murphy Show. Until then, thanks to Cameron Smith. Thanks to Jack Johnson. Thanks to the Aarons, our guests today. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. So long.